Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. Most of you know me from my original video in 2018, How to Manifest a Specific Person the Neville Goddard Way. That was the first specific person video as a step-by-step guide based solely upon Neville Goddard's techniques. Now, that video had initially brought me the success by which you today are basing your experiments on with regards to my teachings. Over the past 5 or 6 years since then, I've coached hundreds of people, and I have been experimenting continuously and observing my data. The studies that I have observed over the past 14 years of explicitly performing manifestation experiments and tests have brought me to this point today. And you will see as next Friday will explain on how to manifest a specific person through my very personal experience with regards to the recent manifestation with my partner now, Athena Raven. But in this video, I want to take you through, over the last 6 years, the observations that I have made through observing hundreds of success stories with regards to specific people, with my clients, with myself, and then also by observing the success stories from, my own systematic experiments over the last 14 years. And so you will be taken through a journey of what works, what doesn't work, the highlights of Neville Goddard's teachings that are implementable today, what to watch out for with regards to the newer kind of inexperienced perception related to Goddard's teachings, and how to be sure that you are doing the right thing. So before we begin, please hit the like button if you like broken down, methodical, systematic breakdowns of manifestation. I focus on Neville Goddard's teachings specifically. I have personally experienced some very amazing mystical experiences back 15 years ago. And it wasn't until many years later, after discovering Neville, that he had the same experiences that I did. And so that is when I dedicated the majority of the last 10 years to systematically putting to the test, obsessively studying, extracting details, observing, cross-referencing his scripture references with my own personal experiences. And that is what my channel is based upon: the broken down, true, systematic, tested manifestation techniques that you can use to create your reality as a lifestyle in a predictable way. So hit the subscribe button if you want to stay tuned for my videos every Tuesday and every Friday at 10 p.m. London time. That's 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Also, hit the bell icon to stay notified for those videos. But let's jump into the rendition of manifesting a specific person with regards to Neville Goddard's teachings in an exact tested framework from then compared to now, through loads of success stories distilled down, finding and targeting the common denominators that underline each experience, each success, each failure. And then be sure, again, make sure you stay prepared for next Friday's success story related to, this is a collaboration between Athena Raven and myself, and how we manifested each other, what that looked like in our minds. So if you want exact details, the mental activities of an individual who's undergoing a manifestation, your specific person, what they will be thinking, for how long manifestations can take, what the bridge looks like, be sure to stay tuned for that. So anyway, Neville Goddard's manifesting a specific person. Hot topic, extremely important. So many factors of manifesting boil into this idea, this topic. Can you actually manifest a specific person? Can you change an individual? What about free will? What do you expect? What should you imagine? How do you imagine? What will happen in the middle between the time you imagine and up until the point where your manifestation unfolds? Do you need to imagine after that? What are the pitfalls that stop people? All of this is compared against Neville Goddard's teachings, and they are proven inexplicably true. So the idea behind manifesting, short and sweet, is your imagination creates reality. Your imagination is God. The Bible or scripture is actually based upon psychological principles deriving the truth of the universe, which is that we are creating every moment. From my humble experience, my personal opinion, this is absolutely true. So the way that I teach this has nothing to do with theology, has nothing to do with anything like that. The Bible and the way that Neville Goddard teaches it, right? I've studied the Bible thoroughly for decades. But the way that I used to understand it is nothing like I do now. But the point is, the idea is that you have control over your reality with your imagination. In scripture, your imagination is God. It is Christ. It is I am. It is Lord. It is Adonai. It is Jehovah. It is Yad-He-Vav-He. It is Jesus and Yeshua. There are many other concepts in the Bible that are actually just referring to you and your imagination. So with that said, it does say, Neville Goddard says, and it does say in scripture that whatever you desire, when you imagine that thing as if you have already received it, you will receive it. Or in other words, whatever exists within the confines of the imagination will be projected on the screen of space. It will manifest outward. It will no longer be secret. It will be pushed to the degree of experience. And so the only requirements, and this is the basis of Goddard's teachings, you must come up with an experience, a simulated experience that would be experienced if you had your desire. So in other words, you must already be married. You must already have your end. Now, it is critical, something I have seen in hundreds of cases, studies that I have undergone, and those of my clients. You must go after the point of the end. So, does that mean you can go to the middle and then go forward? No, that's the middle. You want to go to a point in space where you've already received your end. That means you're already married. And in fact, what I find is a critical aspect that many overlook is this concept that has nothing to do with the actual Neville Goddard's teachings. It has nothing to do with actual manifesting in its applicable form. It's not emotion that you saturate the mind with a thrill of excitement and joy that gets the manifestation. It's actually the emulated experience. The emulated experience. Experience is the word. What would you be experiencing if you were in a position where you were already in a married state, if you were already celebrating an anniversary? So you go to a place in time after you've received your end. If you go before, what happens is, and this is also a Goddard's teaching, your manifestation will go up to the point where it's imagined, but it is promised to go no further. More times than not, one of the most misguided pieces of teaching out there by people misinterpreting Neville or just with inexperience is that you should manifest text messages and phone calls and I love yous. This will never get you your end. This will never get you your end because each imaginal act, and this is in scripture and this is in the Bible, this is what Neville talks about, and this you can prove through, from my own experience, seen this in hundreds, again, of case studies. Each seed that you plant, meaning each imaginal act that you visualize, constructs its own individual aspect of reality, its own individual bridge. They do not combine. They do not merge. So therefore, if you imagine an I love you, and then you imagine a marriage, the I love you will not transform into marriage. In fact, it will manifest and then die. That is how this works. That is how reality works. You see it all around nature. One human doesn't transform into another human. One tree doesn't transform into another tree, and on and on and on. This is not an emission of a vibration that attracts in its like. That is not how this works. That is not what Neville teaches. That is not what you can experience. Neville teaches non-duality, which is the idea that nothing is emitted anywhere. In fact, everything exists within you. Everyone is you pushed out, meaning the way that an individual acts is based solely upon the way you expect them to act. And that's an important topic. It's not based on what you expect yourself to be, like how I perceive myself. If I think I'm that I don't care about myself, that has no implication about how another person will care about me. That is not Neville's teachings. That is not everyone is you pushed out. Everyone is you pushed out, which is an important concept, is that you must expect the individual to act the way you want them to act. So in other words, altogether, what you would do and what you experience, and the common aspect of manifesting a specific person is this. You want a person. Likely, in most cases, you know them. Sometimes you don't, but in most cases, you know them, and they're not acting the way that you want them to act. In fact, many of them have attributes that are uncomely, that are undesirable, that treat you not the way that you want to be treated. Otherwise, you would already have this manifestation. With that said, that is because you are pushing out your expectations and assumptions. So in other words, when you are experiencing reality right now, in your specific person, the person you're after, you want to marry them, you want to be in a committed relationship with them, but they're acting in a way where they are hot and cold, or they've chosen you and then they've left, or every time you get close, they back off. There's a repetition of experience, which stems from the subconscious mind's blueprints that manifest over and over and over. In a lot of the case studies that I've undergone with my clients, when they're going from the process of the beginning to marriage, they must eventually, throughout our sessions, we get them to a place where they are aware of their patterns, so they can not only imagine a point in space after they're married, but then they can specifically and actively modify the beliefs that are within the subconscious so that they stop creating this person as whoever they're not supposed to be. What that looks like specifically, and this is a common denominator, two components that become increasingly important are to define the end, and then also to observe and recognize your patterns so you can imagine a reality where you're experiencing different patterns. So in other words, those assumptions and beliefs, the way that you're treated is not because you treat yourself that way. It's because a memory occurs somewhere within your mind, an experience, a judgment that you once made. That judgment states exactly what's happening. Your judgment states, people leave me, people change their mind, I'm treated second. It's the way that you assume the world treats you is the way that the world will treat you. Not the way that you perceive yourself the world treats you, the way that you perceive that the world treats you. So if you created a new assumption by imagining a conversation, like and this is a general for a reason, and I'll get into this in 1 second, when you imagine that you're married to this person and they're still acting in a way where they're back and forth, there is a current that is ongoing, that is going with the direction of your assumption. So if your assumptions state, people leave me, no one takes me seriously, I never seem to get the person that I want, etc., 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 and then you're also yet imagining you're married to your specific person, those assumptions are the current of your reality. And that imaginal act, that singular imaginal act, is what's in the river. So is your imaginal act going with the direction of the current or against it? Usually, one of the problems that gets people stuck is they are going against their assumptions. We need to change that. So ultimately, the two components are as follows. Imagine the end and observe the characteristics that generally define your reality as it relates to relationships, and construct imaginal conversations that would therefore bring you to a place or generalize reality to a place where what you want is true. Like every time I'm in a relationship, I always get what I want. Every time I'm in love with someone, they always love me back. Generally, the general is the current. The specific thing is what's going down the river. So point being is, if you have those two in order, another aspect is what happens in the middle. So you imagine to the best of your ability what happens. So the person that you're involved with or that you're looking for should in some way eventually be compelled or moved to give you a manifestation. Generally speaking, when a person who I coach gets their specific person, it's often because they're capable of doing this work, and then we go through a process to get them to a place where they can cease imagining. They can stop imagining temporarily, which is another misunderstood teaching of Neville Goddard that I have found. Not only is it misunderstood, it's misquoted. It's one of the most misquoted Neville Goddard teachings because it was early in his career and he changed it later, but it happens to be one of his most clear and concise popular teachings out there. So most people cite this outdated teaching as opposed to the modern Neville teachings, which is imagine and then drop it. We must drop the seed into fertile ground, meaning we must stop imagining so that the imaginal act stops being conditioned into a seed, right? We condition the seed whilst imagining. If we never stop imagining, we never stop conditioning it. If we never stop conditioning it, we never drop it in the ground. If we never drop it into the ground, we can never let it grow. So this is something that's easily testable. I have a list method exercise that I talk about for the last 5 or 6 years, which is distinctively designed to show you what happens when you drop something. And that is the way to get your ends. This was something I discovered through my own observations of manifesting specific people over the years. The obsessive imagining consistently, the fictitious 3-day imagining does not work. You must imagine it, however, until the point where you're saturated with it and then let it go. Your thought, and this is one of the things I've learned that's really important to understand as well. If your thoughts do not automatically align with the end desire, you have not done anything wrong. And the reason for that is because just the same way as when you manifest something, it doesn't instantly appear. Just the same way as you imagine something that might be longer or something related to a belief or an assumption, something related to that, it will not just instantly appear. The world will change. He will take some action. You will take some action. She will take some action. Your friend will take some action. You will be caused to do this thing. He or she will be caused to do that thing. It could take days, weeks, or months, and it may or may not all involve your specific person, but you will be transformed into that ideal, into your new assumptions, into your ideas. That will happen as a side effect. So do not fear about your thoughts that appear in the interim. Although if they're obsessive, you should be targeting the assumptions that are causing the negative obsessive thoughts. But naturally and regularly, the thoughts that arise from your consciousness naturally are just manifestations of the state that you're already in and you've yet to transform. The transformation takes place with the eyes closed, meaning in scripture and by Neville's own words, when you imagine, it should be done in a state where your eyes are closed. Repetitive, continuous living in the end is not something that Neville pushes. In fact, that was way early in his career and he completely changed it. This is very important. So I have some really cool stuff coming out lately. I really shudder to tell you what it is. It's a big surprise, something amazing, something that I have essentially been moved to do that is going to be really helpful in this endeavor of specifying the correct teachings, but also to help you specifically manifest your ends in a very easy and systematic way. But it will show you through this process how you can effectively manifest, looking at processes, looking at past experiences, looking at the systematic commonalities between manifestations to make sure that you're doing this in the proper way. But so let me just say this, right? The way that you will be moved, you will not know. The length of time it will take, you will not know. The things that your individual specific person will be thinking, or the actions that he will feel moved to take, he will not be aware of that. This all happens because of the way that the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, and God works, which is essentially boils down to your imagination and then God or Christ. When you imagine something and impress the subconscious mind with it with the eyes closed, that's when it impresses the subconscious. When you saturate your mind with it, when it becomes a natural, active, working part of your mind. Not a lackadaisical, imaginal act real quick. You kind of think you did it right and then stopping. It's not this whole 7-second to success fictitious thing. You must imagine until it becomes subconscious. Think of when you learn to ride a bike or drive a car, or when you memorize a song, right? There's a process that you undergo to make something conscious to subconscious. So you imagine something enough until it saturates the mind. And once you have done that, it is subconscious. That's why 10 years later, you can jump on a bike 20 years later and still know how to do it. It's subconscious. This is how simple it is to manifest. Imagine, take the time to push it into the subconscious and then let it go. Ultimately and continuously, you need to wait from the point of time you imagine until the time it comes. The world will be moved and orchestrated in a perfect way once the Christ within you passes it off to God. A meticulous master plan is constructed and compels you and the world, whoever involved, if it's one person or a million, if it's one imaginal act only, will be moved to get you your result. Your only two components really come down to this. Imagine the end, after the end, and then if there are any types of patterns and consistent behaviors that you've observed in your reality, generalize them and imagine alternatives to them. Now, I have a lot of videos. A lot of my clients, what I do normally is take them systematically through the process and get them to a place where they know exactly how to observe their behaviors. I help them target them, and I help them construct imaginal conversations to imagine. There's a specific inventory process that I used to go over in my VIP program, and I've cited it some on my videos. I think I have workbooks too. The point is you observe and take a pithy inventory of these experiences, all the past hurts, traumas, resentments, find the commonalities, find the general patterns, and then oppose them with statements. Then conform or construct an imaginal conversation implying that you have that desire. Have someone compliment you on the fact that you are secure, that you are confident, that everything you do is successful, that every relationship you're in is consistent and loyal. These two components are what are going to get you your end. Besides that, dropping it and then waiting. Knowing, so you don't have to believe anything. The action of imagining itself has caused this thing to be destined to succeed. You've selected the dimension you've ordered, now wait. So what happens is you select a dimension by imagining. That's effectively what you're doing. And then your imagination or Christ will go there and you will be drawn to go there in reality. It works every time, it works continuously. This is the systematic method that I meticulously take my clients through, albeit in a more direct, custom-tailored way, but this is what gets results over and over. I hope this was helpful in meticulously debunking some of the problems that are common with the misinterpretations of Neville's teachings. I hope that this was up to par with my initial video with regards to how to manifest a specific person, the Neville Goddard way. Again, this is over many years of observation, many years of studies, many years of systematically and continuously tracking with meticulous accuracy and detail what I imagined, how I imagined it, what my desire was, how many times I thought about it, how many times I imagined it, did I feel it, did I think about it, was I obsessed with it, was I not, how long did I think about it, how long did it take, did it happen, didn't it happen, for thousands and thousands of things, not only of my own accord, objectively, putting to the test all manner of teachings, Abraham Hicks, Joseph Murphy, Neville Goddard, all these people, so many different people, I shudder to name them all. Point being is, what I teach is the systematic observations that I have observed through my own teachings and those teachings of the hundreds of clients that I've successfully helped to get their specific people, to get their wealth, to get their book on the bestseller list, whatever the case is. So put this to the test, to the extreme test. This is not because I say it, it's because you can prove it. So thank you so much. Be sure to download the workbook along with this. Please definitely stay tuned for next Friday. That is when me and Athena Raven are going to do our collaboration on the thought processes and what happened, the bridge of how to manifest a specific person from two perspectives of manifestors, from two perspectives of the specific people, from two perspectives of being moved on a bridge to get the results. Hit the like button if you like this. Hit the subscribe button if you like these broken down teachings. Hit the bell icon to stay tuned for next time. Thank you so much.